ray, while being the fifth flash in meaning and degree, in form and station, this forms the valuable fourth ray of the 31st letters, 31st flash, and is an important and subtle point concerning the verse, "For us Allah suffices." Note, unlike other works, the Risale Nur starts off in veiled manner and gradually unfolds. The first degree of this treaty is extremely subtle and profound, in addition to being a most valuable truth. It took the form of a significant discussion, governed by the feelings and animated conversation about belief, a secret discourse of the heart peculiar to myself. It was healing for my various deep ills. Those completely in harmony and agreement with me may understand it. Otherwise, it will not be entirely appreciated. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate, for us Allah suffices, and He is the best disposer of affairs. One time when I had been isolated from everything by the worldly, I was afflicted with 5 kinds of exile. I suffered too at that time of old age from 5 illnesses arising in part from my sorrows. Due to the heedlessness resulting from the distress, I looked not to the lights of the Risale Nur, which would have consoled and assisted me, but straight to my heart, and I sought my spirit. I saw that dominant in me were an overpowering desire for immortality, an intense love of existence, a great yearning for life, together with an infinite impotence and endless want. But an awesome transience was extinguishing the immortality. Suffering that state of mind, I exclaimed like the soaring poet. Footnote, this refers to Niyazi al-Misri, a Sufi poet who was born in the province of Malatya in Turkey. He studied in Al-Azhar, hence the name al-Misri, wrote a diwan of poetry and other works, and taught in the religious schools of Istanbul for many years. While my heart desires its immortality, reality wants the passing of my body. I am afflicted with an incurable ill which not even Luqman could cure. I bowed my head in despair. Suddenly the verse, "For us Allah suffices, and He is the best disposer of affairs," came to my assistance, summoning me to read it with attention. So I recited it 500 times every day, writing briefly a part of the valuable lights which were unfolded to me in the form of the version of certainty and only known lights and degrees. I refer readers to the Risale Nur for the details. Known with absolute certainty rather than the former vision of certainty. So it starts talking about, from what I understand, specific troubles he had in a certain time in his life, and then he came about to write this ray. Is that correct? What's the Arabic, sorry, of this?
Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel.
Is there any questions on this introduction part?
There are translation errors actually in the beginning. Can we go to the beginning? I will point out.
Yes, which part?
The governing of feelings. Yeah, it shouldn't be governing of feelings. It is, original text says that muhakeme-i hissi, which means that reasoning through the emotions or reasoning with emotions. So muhakeme is not governing, it is reasoning or thinking or pondering over.
There is muhakeme akli and there is muhakeme
hissi. So it's like a thinking tainted with emotions.
It's not emotions. It is like senses. But is it?
Hissiyat.
Hissiyat.
External and internal senses, yeah.
it's not governing here. And secondly, muamele imani is not conversation. Is it conversation translated as?
Yeah.
It is muamele means treatment. Amel, origin means amel, from the, like you act on something, act on what you believe,
Application.
or treat it with a certain approach.
Can it not also be an exchange?
For exchange, there is conversation in the third part. It says mukaleme, what was that?
Discourse of art.
Mukamele
Kalbi.
mukaleme kalbi. It's a conversation through hearts.
Yeah.
So the last one is correct, but the other two is somehow inaccurate or could be misleading.
But what do they mean here?
So like just like
Even
the,
if with the correct translation,
Mhm.
why you start like being very specific about where these feelings come from? Like not feelings, but why he's pinpointing the specific faculties that he's having relationship with these treaties.
In the continuation, he says that he who corresponds to my feelings could totally understand. So he is setting the preliminary points for us to be prepared to understand or look at the matter with these lenses, like with the lens that it is not purely logical. If you look at it purely logical lens, you will not really appreciate or understand what Ustad has been going through or he was experiencing, because it is not purely logical matter, but tainted with emotions. It should be, if we treat it like that, we can truly understand and relate somehow.
Emotions isn't a good translation.
Maybe
Yeah.
hissiyat, feelings,
Senses.
senses.
Or even inner faculties as well. And also in the first part, Ustad uses shu'ur imani so many times. Shu'ur imani is what we were talking about yesterday, about the intuitive intellect, which is the intellect of the heart. So it's
How can we translate muhakeme hissi?
I'm not sure.
Intellect of heart.
It's connected, isn't it? It's connected.
Intuitive reasoning, kind of.
Yeah, intuitive intellect, rational intellect and intuitive intellect.
Intuitive.
Sensational reasoning.
Sensational has another kind of
Yeah.
name.
There's an exaggeration in sensational.
Yeah.
Sensual, pardon, sensual. Sensual.
Bodily kind of sensual.
Yeah, if you say sensory, then
Body.
people think external
Not
senses.
sensual, but sensual. What?
Sensual.
Sensual means body, right?
Sensual has other connotations as well. But
Uh,
yeah, technically, it's correct.
The poem is striking, right? Can you go there?
Is it while my heart desires?
Yeah. Can you go there?
Is that's not the whole poem, right? That's just two sentences.
Yeah, maybe a part of it. Yeah.
It'll be a very short poem.
But it's a strong one. Can we? Where is it? Can you go down? Go down. Yeah, this one. Can you read the?
While my heart desires its immortality, reality wants the passing of my body. I am afflicted with an incurable ill, which not even Luqman could cure.
So in a sense, again, like when Ustad talks about his state and the faculties that this treatise is about, he's not just talking about himself, but he's actually giving us as Arvin said, is like the message that when you are reading this, consider your intuitive intellect and your senses and stuff, not your reasoning much. And here he's giving this like his sorrow through this poet, but this is something not only Ustad has afflicted, it's everyone is afflicted. We are all in an incurable illness that Luqman cannot cure. As a humanity, and
this is the key to understanding why we fail as human beings. This whole poem here.
You can't take Muhammad.
Yeah, you can't take.
What are we gonna do now?
We lost our moderator.
So this is actually something everyone asks himself, isn't it? Because it is the purpose of the man in this world. Like what I'm doing, because when we look at everybody, if we say we get away from the things which make us busy or which prevent us to think about it, and then we are not in ghafla, everybody asks, okay, I'm going to die, but or we want to live eternally. We don't want to be non-existent. So everybody asks this, and I think this is something kind of a spiritual experience. Ustad was asking this thing to himself. Okay, he sees the life is transitory, and after when he wrote this one, especially, he came all the way from Russia, and then he was in the prisons. So can you imagine in his life course, he had experienced all those things, and through all those things, he saw that everything is transitory. Everything leaves him, and he's getting older and older. So in that thing, he realized, like he all realized, but it increased his kind of how can I say, consciousness, I would say, and that the body is leaving us, the material world is leaving us, but we want eternal life. And I think in each degree that we are going to read, by the way, this is a very heavy recital even for Turkish language. Ustad has different degrees of living, and how this verse, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, is a kind of cure that illnesses, or actually response that needs actually. It's both a kind of illnesses, it's also kind of a desire for it.
When the poet says, I'm afflicted with an incurable ill, it's actually not incurable, but it's very difficult to conceive of a cure, because we have this tragedy of having the reflections of the names which we think are actually not reflections but real things.
Mm-hmm.
And it pushes us to desire eternal life. We are eternal. We came from an eternal realm. And therefore, that feeling is still there, that need is still there, that desire is still there. How do you satisfy this desire if I'm going to die? And this is why civilizations exist. In order to, because if you don't believe in an actual hereafter, how are you going to satisfy your desires for the hereafter?
Correct.
You're going to try to get it in this world. So you're going to try to create heaven on earth. In whichever form that is, right? Like the communists try to do it, the socialists try to do it, all great empires try to do it. You know, the greatness of empire, the monument building, so that the names will live on forever. Because if you don't believe in an actual hereafter, you have no choice but to try to get the most out of this world.
Right.
This is a tragedy, because as you get older and you get more powerful, and you get more powerful as you get older, then you realize everything is going to slip away from you. People leave you, people start dying. You know, the above generation dies, then your own generation starts. And then you say, what do I do? You know you're going to die. If you don't believe in a hereafter, you have to anesthetize yourself against death. This is why death is not talked about.
And that's why in the 10th word Ustad says the Hashr resurrection or hereafter is even mercy for the non-believers, unbelievers, because of that thing. And also it is incurable in terms of the worldly
Yes.
things.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And the tragedy is that we are actually in love with life. It's not that something you put on the side. It's our heart completely. I mean, if for a materialistic and worldly perspective, our heart is completely faced towards life.
Yeah.
And as you said, what we are in love with is the reflection of the divine names on temporary things.
Yeah.
And I think it will come in the next passage, but what the relief of Hasbunallah is that those reflections and the things that are passing that has reflections has no effect on you and the things that you love it, because those are coming from the eternal one. So that's basically like one of the cures that it mentions.
It's not easy though, is it, to distinguish the mirror from the reflection in the mirror? We should love the reflection, but we love the mirrors. How do you make that distinction? It's very difficult. If you look at your kids, you know, they reflect on those names perfectly, beautifully. But they are mirrors. So this is difficult, you know. It's not easy to see past it.
And I think there's degrees, right? You you feel like, oh yes, you know, I understand these truths of Iman, right? Like, we all know that we're gonna die someday. We all know that, you know, Qiyamah is coming. We all know that, you know, that this. But suddenly, for instance, if you face death, you find yourself sick, for example, and you might die, for example, it changes completely. You really sense it, you feel it, you can taste it. It's different from just believing it. So you feel, you understand these different levels, right? And so it resonates so much, mashallah.
Like me was searching for Azrael, where is he? It is, I think once a shock wave comes and hits us, like in a calamity, and we realize our infinite importance, and endless want, better, and weakness. Then we realize all of a sudden, with all what we have, is there someone who can help us? Then I think we start obviously believing in Allah and with His names and attributes and full awareness. But I think the infinite importance and endless want, he realized that at the extreme level. So his shock wave was much more powerful than any of us can experience. Therefore, he's crying like this, and he finds his salvation in Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel.
The first degree of the luminous verse, for us, Allah suffices. Because of a shadow in my essential being, of a manifestation of one of the names of the one of glory and perfection, who, possessing absolute perfection, is of himself and for no other reason worthy of love, I had an innate desire for immortality, directed not to my own immortality, but to the existence, perfection, and immortality of that absolutely perfect one. However, due to heedlessness, that innate love had lost its way, become attached to the shadow and enamored of the mirror of immortality. Then the verse, for us Allah suffices, and He is the best disposer of affairs, raised the veil. I saw and felt and experienced at a degree of absolute certainty that the pleasure and happiness of my immortality lay exactly and in more perfect form in the immortality of the enduring one of perfection, in affirming my sustainer and Allah, in believing in Him and submitting to Him for an undying truth, was realized through His immortality. The insight of belief established that my essential being is the shadow of a divine name, which is both enduring and eternal. Also, through the insight of belief, one knows the existence of the absolutely perfect one, the one who is absolutely beloved, and the innate, intense love for his essence is satisfied. And by perceiving through the insight of belief the eternally enduring one's eternal existence, the perfections of the universe and of mankind are known and exist, and one's natural infatuation of perfection is saved from endless pains and becomes the means to pleasure and enjoyment. Also, through the insight of belief, a connection is formed with the eternally enduring one, and through belief in that connection, a relation comes into being with all his dominions, and due to that connection and relation with the eye of belief, one looks on infinite dominion as though they were, in a way, one's own possessions and benefits from them. Also, through the insight of belief and that connection and relation, a bond is formed with all beings, a sort of union is attained with them. In this way, apart from one's personal existence in second place, through the insight of belief and that connection, relation, bond and union, a boundless existence comes into being, which is as though one's own and one's innate passionate love of existence is quietened. Also, through that insight of belief and the connection, relation and bond, a brotherhood is formed with all the people of perfection. Thus, by knowing that due to the eternal existence of the eternally enduring, those innumerable people of perfection have not gone to nothingness and are not lost, the immortality and continued existence of those innumerable friends' perfections, whom such a person with the insight of belief loves, admires and appreciates, and to whom he is attached, yields an elevated pleasure for him. Also, through that insight of belief, connection, relation, bond and brotherhood, I felt and experienced in myself an infinite happiness at the happiness of all my friends, for whose happiness I would willingly sacrifice my life and immortality. For one kind friend is happy and pleased at the happiness of his sincere friend. I therefore felt and perceived through the insight of belief that due to the eternal existence of the enduring one of perfection, foremost the noble messenger upon whom be blessings and peace, and his family and companions, and all my masters and those I love, the prophets, saints and purified scholars, and all my other innumerable friends, had been saved from eternal extinction and would experience eternal happiness. I understood through the mystery of relations, bonds, brotherhood and friendship that their happiness was reflected in me and made me happy. Also, through the insight of belief, I was saved from endless sorrows arising from love of my fellow men and love for relatives. I felt a boundless spiritual pleasure, for I felt and perceived through the insight of belief that foremost my parents and all my blood relatives and relatives of the spirit, for whom by nature I desired to sacrifice my life and immortality and would proudly do so, were saved through the eternal existence of the true truly enduring one from annihilation, non-existence, eternal annihilation, and endless pains, and would receive his infinite mercy. I felt and perceived that an infinite mercy was protecting and supervising them in place of my insignificant, ineffective compassion, which produces sorrow and pain. Like a mother takes pleasure at the ease, comfort, and enjoyment of her child, I felt pleasure and joy at the salvation and ease of all those persons for whom I had compassion under the protection of that mercy, and I offered profound thanks. Also, through the insight of belief and through its connection, I knew and felt that the Risale Nur, which was the result of my life, means of my happiness and my natural duty, was saved from being lost and without benefit, and from annihilation and losing its meaning, and that it was fruitful and enduring. I had the conviction that this was so, and I experienced a pleasure of the Spirit far exceeding the pleasure at my own immortality. For I believe that through the enduring one of perfection's eternal existence, the Risale Nur was not only inscribed in the hearts and memories of people, but was studied by innumerable sentient creatures and spirit beings, and in addition, receiving Allah's pleasure, was inscribed on the preserved tablet and guarded records, and adorned with fruits of reward.
Preserved tablet is
Levim.
Levim Mahfuz.
I knew that in particular, its being connected with the Quran and its acceptance by the Prophet upon whom be peace and Allah willing, being the object of divine pleasure, one moment of its existence and being under the dominical view, was far more valuable than the appreciation of all the people of this world. Thus, I realize that I am ever ready to sacrifice my life and immortality for the immortality, continuance, statement, and acceptance of each of those treatises, which prove the truths of belief, and that my happiness lies in their serving the Quran. In this way, I understood through the connection of belief that through divine immortality, they are the object of appreciation 100 times greater than the appreciation of men. I exclaimed with all my strength, for us Allah suffices, and He is the best disposer of affairs. When Ustad mentions multiple times, he says he's ready to sacrifice his life and immortality. I mean, how many people can actually say this and truly mean it? Because I've only heard, the Prophet ﷺ who has mentioned something similar, but for Ustad to say and mean this multiple times, it's very deep.
Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu also said, my body would become so large in Jahannam so that no one else can enter. Something like this. This is self-sacrifice.
So one thing that took my attention here, I think it will continue, but just before we continue, when we discussed initially after the first part, we talked about how Hasbunallah is saving us from this illness, right, uncurable illness of annihilation. But the way you studied is actually putting that into degrees of that annihilation. Because it's not only you, it's your friends, it's your environment, it's the things you love, everything one by one. It's like suffering within suffering. It is not just like a single thing that, okay, you die and it's done. It is when you die, basically, okay, you can put it like this. Okay, in the center you are here, okay, and everything you have. And then let's say we remove one species from the earth, let's say, birds. All the birds, let's say, remove them. It would put a lot of pain on it, right? So that's why we are actually trying to save those animals that are about to extinct and stuff. Let's say, then remove all the trees from Earth, or remove all the, let's say, if you like football plays, okay, or you remove all the homes, all the houses, remove all the, and then going like this, then going to your family, remove all of your relatives, remove all of your immediate family members, remove all of your friends, remove all of your history, and by that, then it comes to you. Remove all of your, let's say, fingers. I mean, I'm just exaggerating a little bit. Ustad obviously put it much better. But what I'm trying to put emphasis on that, it's not only a single, dying, single annihilation. It's your whole world is actually just to understand what it is to die in reality, because it's very difficult to imagine for many. But when Hasbunallah comes, it saves them one by one, and every time it saves, it's a relief. So that's one thing I see, like in this also. It's like each one of them are actually a huge relief for us if you really go deep into them.
Imagine that someone who doesn't know how to swim and he's on a ship and it is sinking. But if there's no what's it called, the safety boat or lifeboat, or someone, all of the passengers don't know how to swim, but one person knows how to swim. You want to rely on that person. He knows how to swim. He may save me. That's a very strong feeling, because waves are threatening you, like what's the prophet's name? Yunus alayhi salam, and you are at the point of being thrown into the sea, and is there as someone to save you? Yunus alayhi salam made the supplication to Allah. No, he realized that it's only him he could save him from the darkness, from the sea, from the whale, and take him to the shore. Salvation. So like this, in the bewilderment of this worldly life, everyone is facing that unless they have this very strong belief that God is the Savior. Allah is the one who can take me to the shore. By the promise of Jannah, even continuity of existence of Akhirah, is so great news that everyone is relaxing. Oh my God, thanks. There's some place where we can continue our life, even if it is a miserable one. I start asking a question to Fitra, or his nafs. Do you want to live an excellent, very pleasurable life of 1 million years and then annihilate? And then do you sit here? Or do you prefer a painful, tormented life for endlessly, without any end, eternally? Which one do you prefer? And the Fitra shouted like the saying eternity, claiming eternity, preferring eternity. In this context here, I think Ustad is emphasizing this. Everyone is facing that void of death as a void to a degree, until the belief in Akhirah comes and captures you, takes you away from it.
This is a great analogy, the ship with people who can't swim and one person can. Because we all suffer separation, We all watch as our grandparents die, our parents die. Now I'm seeing my cousins die, right? My own generation. Friends die, lots of separations happen. You get older, you get ill. All of these things happen, and yet generally people are not looking for that one person who can show them how to swim or can man the lifeboat and take them, you know. And yet we have the lifeboat there, you know. We have the lifeboat literally with, you know, Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam. There was literally an ark, right?
Yeah.
We need the ark of belief, you know, Safini Iman. We all know we're going to die. Everyone knows they're going to die, believers and unbelievers. And they do try to find a way out. So now you'll see people trying to find potions and creams and pills to make them live longer. But in this world, so they're trying to get the hereafter from here. And yet people are dying, you know, and all of this, what is this new movement now where they try to connect like AI to the human body? Transhumanism?
Yes.
First.
Is
Yeah,
it-
maybe
Yes,
that's
yes.
one.
Transhumanism. They're modifying human body and mind.
This is just an attempt to try to get
Eternity.
eternity
Yeah.
from this world which can't bear the weight of anything for a
Even
single second.
Uploading our brains to like digital realm.
It's just crazy. But it shows that they have the hissiyat as well. They have these desires. We all have the desire for the hereafter because we came from an eternal realm. So it's baked in us, you know, as human beings.
But it assumes that the earth will stay like this.
And yet every second it's changing. So I mean, how can it stay even for 2 seconds?
I think that's the point. What we when we say life and when the moment when we want to live longer, it comes with as a package, as if the reflections of divine names also persist. So in other words, what we want to continue eternally is the reflections of divine
Yes,
names.
absolutely.
Not only our lives. I mean, what would you do in like a void of
Yeah,
your own,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So you still want that connection between you and divine names to continue.
Yeah.
So that's sutra,
Yeah.
right? Our heart desires to be, you know, see those divine names all the time. That's what we desire. When, like, even without our conscious, even if you are unbeliever, that's what you desire when you want eternity,
Yeah.
when you want to live longer. And in fact, very first sentence of this first degree, if you can open maybe. Because of the shadow in my essential being of a manifestation of one of the names of the one of glory and perfection, who possessing absolute perfection is of himself, and for no other reason worthy of law. I had an innate desire for immortality because of him.
Yeah.
That's why I have innate desire for eternity, immortality. Directed not to my own immortality, but to the existence, perfection, and immortality of that absolutely perfect one. That's our desire. Of course, there are desires following it, but that is the center of it. Our desire for eternally seeing and reflecting and manifesting the divine names.
It's very important opening because somewhere else Ustad says that our ruh is actually a reflection of Allah's dhat. We know that Allah's dhat is not manifested in any way in creation. All we see are His names and attributes. But there is a manifestation of it, and that's, as you said, in our ruh, and that's what connects us. That's what makes us want immortality, because we're connected to Him, and He is immortal. And all of the separations that we undergo are to make us stop loving the mirror. You know? It's like when we go from this place at the end of the week, it's very difficult to go. You know, it's very difficult to leave. But what we have to remember is what we receive here. We see as the kindness of brothers and the compassion of brothers and the love of brothers. Actually, these are all divine names and they exist. So it helps the separation. And the same when we lose someone. I remember when my mother died, it was 2000. So it's 24 years now. And then before then I didn't realize I was mortal. I mean, other people had died, you know, but then I realized, you know, God, you know, it's going to happen to me as well. And it was difficult at first, but now I realize that all of the attributes that I loved about her were not from her. So that makes it easier now for me to accept, much easier. And you know, any separation is going to be the same. You know, when you separate from friends that you love and brothers that you love, you realize that they are reflecting, they are mirrors. And you love them for being a mirror, and especially if they consciously reflect the names, you know, as we're supposed to do. But that they're preserved, they are preserved as well. But more importantly, the names are what we love, what we see in them is what we love. No other scholar talks like this, no other contemporary scholar, Muslim scholar.
And it's perfect merge of the tradition of like this, if you want to call like Sufism with Ilm Kalam, and in a chronic way, because this satisfies the like, or not satisfy, but reflect how we feel, or how our senses or our faculties, like especially the ones that are on the heart, are feeling, right?
So many times he says Shur Imani, Shur Imani. I mean, maybe more than 20 times he says this. This is not a rational intellect thing.
He said in the beginning, it's like catching the frequencies. If you feel what he feels, then you start to understand.
And when we look at the history, every prophet, every important person has a dua, special dua, like a Prophet Yunus and others and something else. And Ustaz say it is recited 500 times. Ustaz recite this. I think we need this dua at that time. And then I realized that we recited this dua and then meanings open, or meanings open, then we understand the meaning of dua. And I look at the situation in Gaza, everything is living from them, and they always say Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. And I get to understand the spirit of this dua. And that means even they don't know the meanings of this dua in Risale-i Nur. They didn't read the Risale-i Nur. They don't know these meanings. But I think that something leaves from them when they recite this dua opens.
The reminders are happening so often there that they are forced to say, it's Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, take refuge in this truth of Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. But for us, we are living a comfortable life, and we are not being reminded so often as they face. And we see that their maturity in believing Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, it has improved so much that it reached to a level of taslimiyah, submission.
And Ustaz says, when you recite this dua, before something leaves from you, it becomes you nature and nature. Sometimes your mom will leave from you, but you will not affect as more. Yani, that situation will not affect you more. Because you recite Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel more and more and more, your soul and your some feelings and senses become nature. And some secrets open to you.
In the beginning, Ustaz said, I started saying Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel 1,000 times a day.
Yeah, 500.
Right at the beginning. Also, it's interesting that he put Risale-i Nur into action here, and into commitment. Not his life and his immortality is not as important as the continuity of Risale-i Nur. He paid so much great attention because his duty was to reveal the truth of Quran through Risale-i Nur more than his personal immortality.
There's another mistake, translation mistake. I think when he talks about the Risale, he says it's vazife fitra, and it's translated as natural. It's my natural duty, but fitri is not natural. natural is a very
Primordial.
yeah, or my disposition. You know, it's part of my being.
Positional.
It's the vazife that comes from my being.
Yes.
Natural is not a good word.
It's a secular word.
Yeah, it's
Or English is insufficient to say
yes,
all this.
yeah, it is definitely. In this instance, definitely it is. Vazife Fatri is
Is it innate, maybe?
he was created to produce the Risaleh, right?
Yes.
It's his fitra. And he was aware of it.
Innate is also natural in the meaning,
Innate
like
fitness.
inner nature.
Yeah, innate is like
Innate nature.
innate is better.
Yeah.
You're right.
Mm.
My innate responsibility. Maybe.
It's a biblical word, or
Allah Alam, I don't know.
it seems more
Innate,
spiritual
I
than
don't know.
nature.
Shall I continue?
So one thing, just before,
Yes, sir.
yeah, please, I found extremely interesting many things just before he begins with the first degree, right? He says, "So I bowed my head in despair." Sorry, let me read. "So I bowed my head in despair. Suddenly the verse Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel came to my assistance, summoning me to read it with attention. So I recited it 500 times a day, right? So that's just, there's a bit of a secret there when people, and they knew this from the first generation, you recite, say Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, astaghfirullah al-azim, salawat on our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, la ilaha illallah. They begin to have immediate effects on people, right? Just an allusion there. And then, writing briefly a part of the valuable insights which were unfolded to me in the form of the vision of certainty. And only 9 lights and degrees I refer readers, to the Risale Nur for the details, known with absolute certainty rather than the former vision of certainty. So I guess what I understand is here in these 9 degrees you're getting the Ayn al-Yaqeen experience, right? And then the details that you read in Risale Nur, those are Haqq al-Yaqeen, right? Or am I mistaken? And then, so that's why, because you remember in other parts of the Risale Nur he'll explain in much more detail, right? How for instance, just the very fact that something has been and remains in the knowledge of Allah Ta'ala is enough to a great extent for you to feel content that even if the thing just falls into oblivion or is destroyed or whatever, right? For example, you look at a flower, right? And you just understanding that the flower is first and foremost in the knowledge of Allah Ta'ala. The design is in Allah Ta'ala's plan. That it will continue, perdure in Allah Ta'ala's, register, so to speak, yes? Even if in an instant something comes and destroys a flower, it's all good. You're okay. And that's just one detail. And he explains that in great detail in other parts of this. I don't know. But it's not infused with sort of the, I guess, Ayn al-Yaqeen experience, right? Which is what I think. This is the first time I read this, so this part. So it's just, I find it so interesting that perhaps when you read this fourth ray, maybe that's a good strategy to read. You gain the Ayn al-Yaqeen from the fourth shua, and then you look at the details in the rest of the Risale Nur, but in a more sort of ilmi type of ilm al-Yaqeen type of form, not Ayn al-Yaqeen, but ilm al-Yaqeen type of form, right? Allah.
Ayn al-Yaqeen is a bit too far, I think. It's the certainty by knowledge. At the level, that describes it as, Risale Nur gives certainty of what's it called, Haqq al-Yaqeen, certainty of by complete witnessing through your physical existence in that realm. But this is achieved by certainty by knowledge through Risale Nur.
Yeah, because at the beginning he says, unlike other works, the Risale-i-Nur starts off in a veiled manner and gradually unfolds. And the first degree of this treatise is extremely subtle and profound in addition to being a most valuable truth, right? It took the form of a significant... So at the beginning, say somebody who's just beginning to read about Islam, for instance, or beginning to read the Risale-i-Nur, he'll find this like, okay, how does he go from this to that and from this to that? He doesn't understand, say, right? So, but when you know these other details that are explained in the right, then you can understand, you can fill in the details, so to speak. Yeah, you can fill in the details and say, you can understand, for example, how through the insight of belief, a connection is formed with the eternally enduring one. Right? Then you think back, 23rd word, for example, right? And through belief in that connection, a relation comes into being with all his dominions. Maybe I've not read many other parts of the Islam will explain that in detail, yes? And due to that connection relation with the eye of belief, one looks on infinite dominions as though they were, in a way, one's own possessions and benefits from them, right? So, for example, he explains in, I don't remember where, that, for example, the living being, Zihayat, right, will just see everything and say, in some measure, like, oh, this is all mine, you know, even if it's, for example, you know, something like, so you can sort of fill in the details. But when you read now, you can focus on the, you can perhaps imagine the Ayn al-Yaqeen sensation of how, you know, the instant you find a connection, and then you find an immediate and sort of eternal connection to Allah and everything in Allah Ta'ala's dominion. And so whatever happens, all of that is saved, whatever happens. Right? Allahu Akbar.
This chapter is special, he says. Unlike other works, the Risale-i-Nur starts in veiled manner, right at the start, and gradually unfolds.
Like the creation itself.
Yes. So the other books maybe just jump into the point, but Risale-i-Nur doesn't do that. The Risale-i-Nur wants to train the mind and heart gradually and through Ilm al-Yaqeen, bringing the evidences bit by bit and make the person digest and develop the faculties.
How about you think also the fact that it's veiled is also kind of barrier? If you're really, really persistent, you'll get through the barrier. But no, it's not for everyone.
It's so interesting, like when I started reading with brothers, right, they will say, the more experienced readers, they'll say like, you know, when you start reading and you just continue, you know, even if you don't understand as much, you just continue. When you finish, and then you start again, you start like understand, oh, maybe this refers to this. And then you finish the second reading of the whole collection, right? You start the third one, then you have, and it begins to unfold immediately, all of it at the same time. It's you know, it's a fascinating experience. I've never had that experience. I don't do like that. I don't read like that. But I find it so interesting that all of the experienced readers of Risale-i-Nur that I've met, they have had this experience. They begin reading and they're like, I'm fascinated, I don't understand much, but just continue, you know.
But it starts to unfold.
And then, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But because of they've gone through it, all of it, and then the second time, when they read something, these other parts start connecting, and it begins, the whole picture starts to unfold immediately in one thing. So it's beautiful. Maybe they got that from a...
It's interesting that it's actually talking about a single thing, iman, right? It's just if you wanna express like a single word for Risale-i-Nur, iman, but it unfolds to so many directions because humans and kainat is complicated. It has many different aspects, many different
limitless meanings.
Yes, limitless meanings, and it unfolds in such a way that it makes like it look at iman from so many different perspectives in such a way that it builds a fortress around it and makes like inner connections between everything and also connections with the external things. But eventually, when like sometimes it may sound like we are talking about the same thing, but it's actually not. For example, some of the things we discussed yesterday and today or tomorrow might sound overlapping, but I'm always, for myself, I'm always trying to encourage myself to find the nuance. And actually when you focus on it, you start understanding what is different and what is special about this particular thing.
The focus is important, and I think this is why what I was trying to articulate, but I couldn't, is that jewels are guarded, right? Even in Hollywood films where there is a treasure, there's always something outside to guard against people getting in for the treasure. The reason why the Risale is veiled is because it wants real readers, right? Like if you go to a museum to see the things, if you're not looking at the things but you're just taking pictures of it, and I've seen people do this, they're not serious. And I remember we had a project where we asked some people to read the Risale. We knew that they were theologians, to read the Risale and to write something about it. The project never took off, but this was our plan. So we gave to Muslims who claimed to be theologians, we said, read this Risale and try to make something of it in your own field and try to apply it. And one of them, he is an avid reader of books anyway. He bought all of the Risale, all of the collection, and he wrote his article. And then afterwards he announced quite openly, oh yeah, I sold them on eBay. I sold the collection on eBay. And I'm thinking, you know, you used it just like any other book. You didn't get the spirit of it because it's difficult. The Risale is not easy. And also there's the hikmah in the fact that the translation is so difficult.
You must be a philosopher rather than theologian.
I have other words for it apart from philosopher. But the fact is, you have to persevere, you know. You have to persevere. You have to break through the veil. And you do. It happens if you read it. It's veiled, and you do get there in the end, as you're saying. People start and they say, we don't understand it, but it's fascinating. This guy is saying something, you know, I want to know what he's saying. And this is a dua. You know, Allah wants people to gaze on his beauty, but not with the camera like this and looking in the other direction.
The thing is, Hocam, most books these days only reach until your reason, and it doesn't go beyond. And Risale-i Nur Ustad mentions like it goes through the stomach of reason and digest and spread through all of your faculties. And that's what is amazing, and that's the barrier. So if you have a problem in your digestive system, so it's like a brain, which is blocking to digesting of, like, let's say vitamins, like, you know, some people have this problem, right? So they can't digest like vitamin D, for example. Because of that, they had to take a supplement and stuff. So some people have these like blockers in their brain, and that's what's blocking. Also, like it, as you said, it requires some persistence to reach out to other faculties, which is where you and this is one of them, I guess, is like maybe read, like Ustaz says, I recited Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel 500 times, right? And then these meanings start to come to him.
Also resurrection decided.
Yeah. He said 10,000 times, right?
1,000 times, and the museum on mountains. Looking at this green, for example, for someone who's in the town down there, spent all his time in the town between concrete buildings. Green means green, in one word. But once you bring that person up here, look at this green.
How many greens are there?
How many greens are there? What variants of it? So many of them, so much. And green is enriched with very various tones. And then that person starts thinking, oh, the green I was thinking is not this one. This is so rich, so enriched. The Risale-i Nur is this green. But many people are thinking of green right there while looking at the local grass. That's it.
That's green. Yeah.
That's green.
We don't have to. I mean, that's true, but it's even sometimes I feel like myself, like we do ulfat, right? We do this familiarity to certain topics, which is actually blocking us from learning more. Because, as you said yesterday, like about first word, right? So we say, okay, I read first word like many times since my childhood, etc., and then say, oh, I already got it, everything. But this kind of mindset is actually sometimes blocking us, like the green, like the person saying, like I know the green, but that's basically not true, right? So there are many nuances and details in it. So same applies to rest of the Risale-i Nur for ourselves as well. Like we shouldn't really have the presumption that I read this Risale and that's it. Always try to catch the details, and also these gatherings also helps like us to hear other perspectives and then enlighten and extend our understanding of it.
I think the other perspectives issue that you're mentioning now is important because it's kind of collective dua for understanding, right? So I can't understand Risale and he says it and he says it and he says it. This collective dua is very, very powerful. So yesterday, I've read the first words so many times. Yesterday it was fresh. People were saying things that, I hadn't thought of it like this, or I hadn't thought of it like that. And it's also attention spans today are a big barrier, You give the Risale, someone said, well, why don't you stand in the underground and give out to people? It's crazy.
Why would I?
It's a crazy, crazy idea because people, first of all, don't read. Attention span is like 5 minutes now on YouTube videos.
No, it's 1 minute.
We wanted to make some videos, right, for the project that we've just finished for the Templeton Foundation. And they said, how long should our videos be? Someone asked me, I said, well, maybe half an hour. I said, are you crazy? Who's going to watch a half an hour video? No one would ever watch a half an hour video.
Actually, people started to listen to long content again in form of podcasts. When people go work out, they listen to podcasts, and it is 1 hour, 2 hours that people listen.
Yeah, but it's background noise, really. So that you're jogging out there and you're jogging, and you're hearing the first word while you're jogging.
It's out of fear of missing out. So you say, while doing this, let me actually.
Also fill your brain with something so that you don't think something else. Death.
The thing is, if you, for example, I see young people now with, looking at their tablets, even like 4, 5, 6-year-olds watching YouTube videos, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. So their attention span actually, cumulatively, is 2 hours spent on their iPad. But the thing is, it's broken up into little bite-sized portions. So for social media experts who want to communicate the Risale, maybe there is something in that.
We start seeing some brothers are they release the whole dars, but they also cut down 1 minute, the most important piece, and then release it as Instagram or YouTube Shorts, and to.
You know Said Şaşmaz?
Impatient.
It is a Said abi in Bursa.
Yes, Said
You know him?
Yeah, I know of him.
Have you seen his English videos?
He doesn't speak English.
Yes.
Yeah.
Voice cloning.
Yeah.
They
They
are
manipulate.
Visual dubbing.
voice. They are using voice cloning.
Lip sync.
Lip sync.
But
Yeah,
do they also manipulate?
A little bit, yes.
Voice cloning and lip syncing.
Because the lip syncing is perfect, almost perfect.
It is not just lip. AI generates a video that matches your speech. So or face movements, mimics.
It's scary.
Someday my dad was scrolling Facebook, and he is a professor, and came up a video of Elon Musk talking about a new investment scheme. It is supposed obviously scam. He is looking, what is this? That, don't you see? It is a scam. It is not real. What does it mean? It is not. This is AI generated video.
It's deep fake, right? They call
Yeah.
it.
I used to be working on that specific area actually. We were
Used to?
no, not now,
I
but
think-
I used to. Yeah. We were trying to do movie stuff, but anyway, Let's maybe after
Okay.
you, brother. Yeah. Okay.
Here on when yes, read this pattern. Of course, I read this pattern before. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Could every day read 500 times. Yes, Ustad has such a sense, has such a strong feelings. We try to feel ourselves, but always feel within. And also in the letter, in the 26th letter, Ustad mentioned that there is a very short sentence, several sentences. On the day of Arafat, the eve of the festival of sacrifice, I used to recite Surah Al-Ikhlas hundreds of times. I would observe that some of the non-physical senses in me would receive the sustenance several times, then would cease to do so and stop. Others, like the faculty of reflective thought, would turn towards the meaning for a time, receive their share. Then they would stop. And some, like the heart, would receive their share in respect of certain concepts that yielded a spiritual pleasure. Then they too would fall silent. So this version is Ustad is identified in detail is faculty is lataif, in detail is the share, the benefit of heart, the benefit of reasoning, and the benefit of the sum of the faculties. So I just want to know is do anyone is when repeating several special dhikr several hundred times, couldn't have such a feeling. Of course, and I discussed with Brother Ahmed. Yes, of course, we see how this adhkar and this du'a. So we just not for the benefit of this world. Exactly, we are looking for the benefit of the akhirah. But it is our nature. Sometimes we always to try to get some even 1% of such feelings and Ustad feel. So just my point is do any Ustad or the Qudama and Talib Nur have such an experience.
I want to share something.
Yeah.
When I was like younger, around 10 years ago, my father's wallet was lost outside, and a friend of my mother shared a dua from Surah Luqman, and said that first read 111 times or 101 time, not remembering properly, the Durud Sharif, and then this dua, both 111 or something times. And I and my small sister, we sat and we read it, like it took hours for us. And the next day, a person sent a message to my father from Facebook. He says, this is the wallet, and inside it, your Facebook, your card was there. So he found it from that.
It's amazing. I heard once this Muslim scholar in the U.S. He said that he was a new Muslim. He was like in the second year of Islam or something, and somebody had given him something to take care of during the trip, an extremely expensive item, like a camera or something like that, right? And he was on the train, and he left it on the train or something, and then he heard somebody, a sheikh or somebody, said to him, he was like really despairing, like, what am I going to do, you know? And somebody told him, you should read Yasin 40 times if you want to find relief or find a thing or something. And I don't know how he managed, he read it 40 times. And he said that the next day he went to the station, and he was right there, you know, untouched. And also, I recently heard something, I was just quite amazed. I heard from somebody and then from somebody else, both people who study like Islam and they read a hadith and they know things. They said, when you lose something, you read وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى, right? And he said, sometimes when you read the ulama, right, they will say, for example, and you know, we heard this dua in this hadith and the Prophet in this hadith says is for this and this, right? And they will say, I have tried it a number of times, and it always worked. And then you read another one, and he will say the same thing. So it's like when you get people saying, this is, I'm telling you from experience, I'm not telling you from just because I heard it, you know? So this person had just begun doing that. And then, so this is a whole, it's not only a knowledge, it's an enormous realm of art, you know, like to look at this ayah in this perspective. What type of, we say, for example, why do people read Al-Fatiha always, right? For example, there's sir, you know, there's secrets, you know, mysteries, or
Can I comment on that?
Mm.
So in 12th verse, we start mentions about two people, and both of them are giving a Quran that's written with some gold, silver, like some special stones, right? And they've been asked to write an article about it, like the article that you mentioned, like about that person. And one of them was a Taleb of Quran, the other one was a philosopher. And the first one wrote, like the philosopher wrote how beautifully it is inscribed, how valuable stones have been used to write that Quran, etc., etc. Just the face value. The other one has said the following: it is written beautifully, but that beauty and the valuable stones were to indicate the Qudsi, the holy meanings of it. The actual thing that is valuable in this Quran is the meanings of it. So when we see like a karama, or what's this correct way of saying this? But it's a kind of karam of Quran, like some of the verses, like finding some things, or like feeling, having a better feeling, or finding shifa, for example, right? These are the spiritual indications of the value of their meaning, right? They are not the purpose. The purpose of those verses, purpose of the Quran, is our iman and connection with Allah, not their benefit for this world. Same for zikr, right? So those zikrs shouldn't be really directed to get some benefits for this world, right? But it's supposed to, have their own like a value in their meaning, like this Hasbunallah. For example, Ustad mentions that he knows like some verses that can cure some of his sicknesses immediately, right? But he doesn't recite them.
It just says, if I'm not wrong, somewhere in Surah Nur, they could be a kind of encouraging the world benefits for the daif, for the
weak.
weak personalities. Only just for encouragement. They are not the real reason. Like we don't make the dua for just use it for world benefits, but it encourages for the weak people for connection.
It's a tanazulat, isn't it? It's part of tanazulat.
Like reading Jawshan, when if it is a worldly gain, intended for worldly gain, the Japanese keep reading Jawshan, Ustad says they won't see the benefit of it. Definitely.
But you will still get benefit. I was going to mention Joshan, so you read my mind, or I read your mind. Joshan is one of the most powerful du'as. But the point is to connect, as you say. But I know people who've amazing things have happened because of Joshan. So maybe through their own sincerity, or even if they didn't really understand it, they believed that the Joshan was important. And for Ustad as well, Joshan has a central position in his spirituality.
Absolutely. And there's so many things that you want to respond to your comment. So why do people read Al-Kursi right after every salah, right? And so then the hadith says that the person who reads Al-Kursi after every salah, nothing stands between them and Jannah except death, right? But then you apply your perspective. You say, okay, what is in Al-Kursi that would open that allows that, so to speak, that, gifts that sort of, yeah. And so then one of the things I was really, really amazed when I read the first time, when Ustad says, if you go in the desert, right, and there's a small pond, a small recollection of water, say, right, at night, the whole sky, you know, is reflected there, even though it's tiny. If you put a glass of water in the middle of the desert at night, the whole sky is going to be there. So even if you're reading something small like Al-Fatiha, for example, or Al-Kursi, the whole Quran is there. And he says in the same treatise, he says, for example, sometimes a person might read something of Quran and they might get what even prophets of the past got, you know, three prophets of the past, the whole revelation that was given to them, they can get that in one reading. And then he explains it with an example, right? The person who goes to the Sultan and he's extremely poor and has nothing, right? And he sees a table full of gifts that people are going to give the Sultan. And he comes next in line and he has absolutely nothing. And he just quickly goes to the front of them and he says to the Sultan, "Oh, Sultan, you see all of these gifts, take them from me, like receive them in my name because you deserve them and more. I have nothing, but I gift you all of them," right? And then the Sultan would be most pleased with the person. Right? So you see, and also, you know, we know from the hadith that Al-Kursi is perfect protection from wasawis, shayateen, you know, sihr, all of that, right? So you start looking at both things. Then also one time I heard or I read that Ustad says, at the beginning when I discovered Risale, I would say like, wow, these brothers, mashallah, they're patient, you know. They sit down, subhanakallah, ta'ala, rahman, 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. And the Imam of the masjid was like, everybody finish the prayer, they leave, and the brothers, they stay in the masjid, they're there. They're like, mashallah, you know, normal. I mean, we can't prescribe this to all people because it's just too much. How are they going to do it, you know? And then I heard the Ustad saying, like, when I do this dua, I picture every name and the connotations of every name, and it gives me enormous possibilities for tafakkur, you know? So, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Kareem, Ya... So, and then the Jawshan, for instance, right? It changes the...
So basically by reading, we are filling the verse with meaning in our brain, right? So when you just say, let's say, Al-Razzaq, what it is, but after reading the second ray, where Ustad mentions about like the whole universe as a sofra, as a dinner table, or as Shafi as a whole universe as a hospital, like described and many other places, right? So that you fill up those words, right? Otherwise, they are empty in your head. You know the word, you know the immediate translation or like a close translation of it, but you don't know what it is. And same goes with the, so one other thing just to add, maybe after that we can finish because the time is up, but for example, during Salah, having intentional tafakkur is not suggested. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a makruh, right? So you, while reciting Fatiha, you shouldn't really be like having an intentional thought of what is, let's say, Iyyaka na'budu, and then try to force yourself to, you know, oh, what is na'budu? Na'budu means like we all worship you, but it's nun, so it's like all together we. Okay, there are three aspects of it, like one as the kainat, one as myself, like etc. So intentional tafakkur like this is actually harming the state of salah.
Better than thinking about my job.
No. Still. I mean, that's what I'm saying is like in fiqh, right? So having this intentional is a harming salah. But what should we do is like, if you fill out your life with those meanings, they will come to your mind while you're reciting without intention. That's the purpose. So you fill up the meanings of those words. For the zikr, same, right? When you do zikr after, like tasbiyat after salah, then when you're doing those like Ya Cemil Ya Kayyum, then each word brings another meaning, and then you're bombarded with all of these meanings in one 1 minute, and it becomes like a true zikr. Otherwise, you get boring. It becomes boring for you, right? You just listen, oh, same old tasbih. That's the thing. So we should have a right balance of like learning, teaching ourselves, reading, contemplating. Then when you do zikr, it becomes mashallah, subhanallah, like right. That's actually the way of like also like in tariqah, right? So they do zikr, but they feel in the meanings of them, and I think that's what we and I think to reconnect with the text. I think when now we say Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, we are actually, kind of compressing all of these meanings into those words, inshallah. When we say them, they will be what do we say, like repacked?
Remanifest.
Yeah,
Our minds.
There's infinite degrees for each one of them. So if you say, I don't know, Ya Kareem, Ya Allah, Ya Mujib, each one has infinite. There's infinite. Here, Jannah, for instance, will not be enough for you to discover just one of them. Because as you said, as we all experienced, many of us have mentioned in just here that, how custom, ulfa, just is one of the things that I heard this before even knowing more about Sana and Nur. They said that, the greatest awliya, they develop this art to perfection, They defeat custom, they defeat ulfat, They become proficient at just knowing when it creeps in, and then they start looking things afresh, But it's extremely difficult because we depend on ulfat to live and to survive and stuff. So it's amazing how, and you get this reminder constantly how ulfat is just something that we as believers, as mu'mineen, we need to develop strategies and refine strategies so that we don't get,
I think
accustomed to things.
The easiest way is gatherings, because when we are alone, usually we stuck there and you are stuck. I mean, but when we get together, like a one word, one sentence from brothers, each one of them can immediately break all my ulfa like on a certain topic, and can give me a new perspective. But that's a good discussion. Let's go back to text, and because we are slightly out of time, let's finish it till the end of the first. Just maybe read it and then so that like we also get reconnect with the topic, and then we finish, inshallah.
Also, through the insight of belief, I knew that belief in the eternal existence of the enduring one of glory, who bestows everlasting.
Go back.
Who bestows everlasting immortality and perpetual life, and the results of belief, like good works, are the everlasting fruits of this fleeting life and the means to unending immortality. I persuaded my soul to leave aside the shell of this worldly immortality in order to yield those enduring fruits, like a seed leaves aside its casing in order to be transformed into a fruit-bearing tree. Together with my soul, I declared, for us, Allah suffices, and He is the best disposer of affairs. For us, His eternal existence is sufficient. Also, through the insight of belief and relation of worship, I knew with the knowledge of certainty that what lies beyond the screen of the earth was lit up, and the heavy layer of earth was lifted from the dead, and that under the ground, which was entered by the door of the grave, was not dark and stained with non-existence. With all my strength I exclaimed, for us Allah suffices, and He is the best disposer of affairs. I had the firm conviction, and through the insight of belief, knew with absolute certainty that while the intense desire for immortality looked in two respects, to the eternal existence of the enduring one of perfection, I had become someone stunned and bewildered who had lost his beloved on his ego, veiling him, and begun to worship the mirror itself. That very deep, powerful desire for immortality governed in my essential being by means of the shadow of one of the names of the absolute perfection, who is loved and worshipped for himself and no other reason, and whom it is man's nature to love. He had given the desire for immortality, and while the perfection of his essence, which apart from himself requires no other reason or motive for love, was sufficient as the cause of worship, as we explained above, by bestowing the above-mentioned enduring fruits, each one of which is worthy of having sacrificed for it not one life and immortality, but if possible, thousands of worldly lives and immortalities. He had made that innate desire even more intense. This I perceived and felt. If it had been within my power, I would have declared with all the particles of my being, for us Allah suffices and He is the best disposer of affairs, and I did declare it with that intention. Also, the insight of belief which seeks its immortality and the eternal existence of Allah, some of the fruits of which I have indicated above in the paragraphs starting also, afforded me such pleasures and joy that I exclaimed with all my spirit, all my strength, from the depths of my heart, together with my soul. For us, Allah suffices, and He is the best disposer of affairs.
Yeah, it's something last time. In Masnavi, Ustad classifies the evidence, the proofs of divine unity as being three kinds of proofs. One is some like light, the other is like air, the other is like water. So that kind of meaning, discussions or meanings in connection with the dhikr, the effect of the dhikr, they all have different. They are like these three categories of divine, the proofs of divine unity. Just like we cannot expect the light to be in our plate to eat it, or the water to be smelled, or let's say the other things, like they have specific way of absorption or integration or into our needs. So some of the, like this one, this topic, as well as some zikr, are also like that. We shouldn't expect them like solid things, or as you mentioned, like in the salat, we shouldn't focus on meaning, because it is not the place of reflection. It is a place of presence, like being present, being submission. So it's not that we are theologizing or philosophizing or rationalizing something. It's not the place of that. It is like if we act like that, we are trying to grasp the air with our hand. It will just leave. It cannot be accommodated or captured by our material hands. So not mixing these stations, so we can get maximize the benefits.
Yeah, it's like some Ustad mentioned somewhere is having an explicit intention for certain things cancels them. For example, if you what?
We'll chase it away.
Yes. For example, if while you are trying to sleep, if you push yourself, oh, I should sleep now, then you are sleepless. Or if you are trying to be sincere, let's say, oh, while doing this, let's say, okay, I'm the imam. Okay, let me pray with a high sincerity. How can you do that?
Forcing sincerity.
Like this kind of, and same goes like with the salah, and then living the meanings. Like those doesn't happen with an explicit intention. It's like trying to have an explicit intention is like a kind of sounds like a materialistic. You can do everything by force. Like it starts saying like a civilization has this like their usulas has like their essence is power, right? It sounds like you are putting power as your essence. Instead, it should be haq.
Yes.
It should be truthfulness, and then it becomes naturally happening. So when you are sincere for the rest of your time, your namaz, your salah is also become sincere, etc., etc. So you should be waiting for air to, as you said, like in your example, to come and hit you, not trying to grasp it.
Yeah.
It's like trying to be patient, trying to be happy. The therapist will say, try to be happy. How does that work? How does it work? How do you try to be
No,
happy.
do they say?
or trying to be comfortable or resting is also another thing. So Ustad also mentions about that if you try to be what's like resting,
Intending to rest.
yeah,
Uh,
cancels it,
like
Eliminates it.
eliminates it, yeah. But if you just work like like the person who is like hard working and then just focusing on the work never complains about his comfort. But the person who is seeking comfort all the time always complains about it.
I think because we can't create anything, the best thing is to negate. Try not to be impatient. That's a possibility. But try to be patient. We don't know how to be patient. But we know what it is to be impatient. If you can try to stop that, that's possible, and that's tazkiyah nafs. But you can't try to do something which Allah is creating. Right? Allah is, sabur.